it's a gloomy Victoria Day.
Don't know what to say here.
Like,
Oh, I do know what to say, but
there's a lot of different ways we can go about this. I think,
a lot to unpack.
yeah. Last we spoke, they were headed into Game 6.
Game 5.
Game 5.
We had done. It was 2-2.
Right. And Game 5,
Game 5 was pathetic.
disastrous.
Yeah, it was pathetic.
Absolute pumping, absolute shit kicker to the face. Nobody showed out. The game completely out of hand. Zero effort. They got shut out that game too, did they not? Did they even get one?
Robertson scored at the end.
Right. Right.
Meaningless goal.
Really disappointing to see. Given how competitive it had kind of been. Like, even in the losses, it was like they had some bad zones, there's some bad periods, but like they managed to at least like get it together
Stay
for
in the game.
the third.
You gotta do.
Yeah.
Even if you're playing like shit, you gotta stay in the game. You gotta
Yeah.
find a way to stay in the game.
So this was a little bit of a like hard left turn. And I think it put a lot of Leaf fans into worry, sound the alarm zone.
Yeah.
I think we were both trying to stay a little bit more composed because it's like we get it, like bad games happen. It's not.
I had a feeling that what happened was going to happen because it follows the pattern. The Leafs tend to go down in series, no matter the opponent, as long as the opponent is on their level or maybe above their level. If it's a weaker opponent, maybe they go up. But most of the opponents we've played are at least on our level or better. We tend to go down whether it's 3-1, 3-2, and then we always seem to a little bit of a fight back, tease us a little bit, force a game 7, and then we know the history there. When you touch on game 6, from an offensive standpoint, could have been better, but probably our most complete game in the Florida series.
Yeah. Playing really strong systems. People were disciplined.
It's exactly what you'd expect out of a do or die game from both teams.
Yeah.
Both teams shut it down defensively. Everything's to the outside. It's difficult to score. In today's NHL, it doesn't matter. Listen, you could have the best. You could have Bobrovsky, who's been the best goalie in the playoffs over the past 3 years, or you could have Ilya Samsonov. If you're an NHL goalie in today's game, if you can see the puck and it's from the hash marks or further, 99.9% of the time you're making a save. And both teams did a really good job of that in game 6, of keeping everything to the outside. The Leafs had that little one moment of magic, just a little bit of creativity from players that you expect to see that from, and they won the game. But they did it for one game. I don't excuse game 5, but you're going to have a bad game here and there.
Especially with how talented Florida is.
Yeah.
Like, they are an extremely talented team who play playoff hockey, who have like the whole depth of the team.
They're the best in the world at playoff hockey. They know how to win. They have know-how. They play the right way. Every single player buys into the way they play. And they all execute it.
There was a defenseman attached to every single point in game 5.
Yeah.
Every single one.
They don't give you any room. And if they play bad, you know what happens the next game? They don't play bad. They fix things and they get ready.
And even if they're playing badly or they're down, you're gonna feel it. They're not giving you
no complacency. So yes, do I excuse the effort in game 5? No, but there's gonna be games. There's gonna be bad games, especially it's the playoffs. There's ups and downs.
Yeah.
Even if you go and win the whole cup, there's gonna be downs at some point come playoff time. But to do it twice in 3 games and in a game 7, there's no excuse.
It's like, I don't know.
There's no
There,
excuses.
nobody showed up.
If you would have told me at the beginning of the season, we win the division, we go out to Florida in the second round in 7 games, I would have said, great, that's progress.
Hmm.
I would have said, great, I obviously want to win. But I would have said, I can handle that because it's better than what we've been.
You're taking a former defending champion and a realistic Stanley Cup contender.
Yeah.
And you're taking them to 7 after you've done your job in the first round.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
The way this series played out, I don't take that. Not that they lost, it's the way they lost.
To blow a 3-1 lead in game, was that 3 or 4?
3.
Okay, we'll snuff off the.
Okay, you lose a game on the road. Okay.
Sure.
You're not going to win every game.
Happens.
We don't expect that.
Mm-hmm. It was okay. All of that is done. You have one game to make it happen. This is the prove it year for a lot of these guys. A lot of these core 4, it's contract years. Because at this point, I think you start including Nyes in terms of core players on this team.
Maybe core 5 if you want to say now, but he's so young you can't even.
Yeah.
And he's the youngest one, and the one you should expect the least amount from, but he's the one we got the most out of all those players.
Nobody showed up. They spent the first 10 minutes absolutely slaughtering us. 21 shot attempts to 0.
I thought we were really good in the last 10 minutes of the first period.
Last 10 minutes was fine. They settled down. They woke up. They had some good chances.
That was it.
And then it was vanilla ice cream that was watered down. There was nothing of substance. There was no effort. There was no like laying it out and taking some hits, trying to get some momentum.
Certain players. There is.
Okay.
Like from our decor, I can't. Did they have their best games? No.
Last night in particular.
But I can't argue that the decor didn't put effort in. I can't argue that.
It was a bad game for McCabe. It was a really bad game for Riley. Tanev was doing his thing. He never really he's never lighting guys.
I can't sit here and say that anyone on the decor didn't put effort in.
Mm-hmm.
Riley was really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say he didn't try. It was just a normal positional defensive play, which is not trying. It's just not. He's just not good at it.
And I understand okay, if you're down, you need to start taking some more chances. I understand taking pinches at times, but
not when it's 1-0.
Not when it's 1-0. That was a bad pinch. There was just no one that stands out. And then you see the clip of Marner screaming, "Wake up!" I didn't see anything from Marner.
Marner's going to be the topic of a lot of our discussions going forward here until we know what's going to happen.
We had 1, maybe 2 shots from Matthews.
Here's
Nyes was obviously hurt. We can address that now. Nyes was hit in game 6.
Nyes got hurt in game 6. Kind of he went in for the hit.
Something's up with his hip.
He played the rest of the game. He said he was good to go. But listen, Nyes is usually the first guy in on the forecheck, banging bodies. He was the three. It was Matthews and Marner were the first guys in the forecheck, and that was never going to work. It was clear that Nyes was playing not hurt, injured.
Do you think it was
which is commendable. But if you knew this going in, maybe you put him on like you did in Game 6. Maybe you put him further down the lineup, give him a little bit less ice, just because you know.
And it took
them and save him till the end of the game.
It took till the third to do that too, where it was a different guy on the top line every single shift. It was a blender,
yeah. They put Tavares with Matthews and Marner.
They had Domi
was with Domi and.
They had Domi on the first line for a shift. They have Holberg on first line for a shift. I'm pretty sure I saw Lorenz out there. They were trying to find something that could work with those two, and just nothing came together. They had the 1 goal from Domi, and then they got it right back in the air just because you can start a rally. If the most dangerous lead in hockey is 3-0.
Well, 2, but yeah.
And it's like okay, There's one, and you can start, and you had the energy,
You should
and
keep
to
plugging
lose
away.
it within a minute,
Yeah,
it just took all the gas out.
there's just like we can sit here and say what we want. Um, like McCabe was tough with the puck, but he didn't. I wouldn't say he lacked effort. Tanev was still. I wouldn't say he lacked effort. Carlo definitely didn't lack effort. Carlo blocked a shot with his ass. Benoit didn't lack effort. OEL, again, not his best night, but I wouldn't say he lacked effort. If you look at Lorentz, Yarncroke, and Lawton, I don't think that line lacked effort for one shift this whole playoff. And that's great.
Hmm.
And I love to see that. But that line is the fourth line. I love that those guys will work their asses off. And if we come back next year and that's our fourth line, great.
Hmm.
I'm all for that. But the reason this team doesn't win is because one, the guys that make all the money don't show up when it matters. And two, because those guys make all the money, the rest of the team, i.e., the rest of the forwards, even if they put effort in, they aren't to a level that we need to get past teams like Florida. So we can talk all we want. We can say, listen, I even said it last night. I thought Domi was our best forward last night. Coming from me, that's pretty high praise.
Had at least some spark,
He at
skating.
least was moving.
Yeah.
He scored a goal. Even game 6, I thought he was solid. Doesn't excuse all the stupid penalties throughout the playoffs, whatever. But at least I can know he put effort in. But Domi isn't a guy that's going to elevate us. You win cup by playing 4 lines deep, 3 D pairings deep, even both goalies, because the Leafs had to play both goalies. That's how you win cup. But the Leafs can't do that because the roster isn't built properly. Whether it's the style of play, whether it's just you're not getting production out of those guys. So if we come back with Lawton, Rent, and Yarncroke as our fourth line, I think that's a terrific fourth line. That's not a third line.
Okay, so zoom out here a little bit and put Game 7 in a vacuum. Is it that Florida played and found a different gear and we couldn't match it, or did we not show up in terms
We
of
didn't
our
show up.
forward
We didn't
core?
show up.
It's not that Florida was
Florida was the same.
ungodly.
Florida didn't have their best 2 games in the first 2 games of the series. Okay, we took those 2 games. Part of that, we got traffic in front of Bob. We rattled Bob a little bit.
Hmm.
Bob figured it out the rest of the series,
Yeah.
right? So if Bob figures it out, Florida's not letting a lot of goals. So you know you can't let in a lot of goals. You have to be sound. Whether you're up 1-0, whether you're down 1-0. You can't change the game. The whole series, the whole season, we've talked about how great of a second period team the Leafs are.
Hmm.
They were absolutely pathetic on the long change in every single game in this series.
Even the last series.
Even Ottawa wasn't good, but it was nowhere near this.
Yeah. They know how to stranglehold you. They know how to trap you in your zone.
They just do little things that just know-how things that at this point you have to know. The majority of our lineup has been around. You have to know these things.
slapping shots
There's
that
just
are
little things that Florida does that maybe in the regular season they'll call it penalty, but it's the playoff. They're going to let more things go. If you're subtle about it, you're going to get away with it.
the setting of the pick. You saw it with Nylander on
On the Domi goal,
setting the pick.
Florida does that all the time in all areas of the ice. If you look at Florida's breakout, half their breakout is guys setting the pick.
Hmm.
They're not going to call that in the playoffs. Fucking get your head up and help your teammates out. I can't stand this team. I can't stand it. There is nothing you can tell me to convince me to bring these overpaid losers back, to run it back again for a 10 fucking season. Shanahan, see you later. Okay?
So
You've been here for a decade.
This is the
You're
first
done.
call. The first
You're
call
done.
is Shanahan's done.
You're done. You're the number one culprit. You and Dubas are 1 and 2. You keep running it back, you're done.
Does Shanahan go to Pittsburgh?
I don't care. I don't give a rat's ass where you go. You're done. I get you're from the area and it's all great and he played in the NHL and blah
Doesn't
blah
it warm
blah.
your heart?
Doesn't matter. I don't care. Marner's a Toronto boy, so everyone's gonna defend Marner. No, Marner ain't getting it done. I, listen, they're all culprits here. Every single one of those, especially those highly paid players, are all culprits. None of them showed up for a lot of the series. But I can sit here and tell you that Nylander was the best player on the ice the first two games. I can sit here and tell you that Tavares had moments. He had a 2-goal game in there, and he does things the correct way. I can sit here and tell you that everyone was calling out Matthews. Well, Matthews scored the goal to win the game in Game 6.
Goal.
And Matthews' 200-foot game is consistent night in, night out. He improved significantly on draws in this series. And Knies is still young. But I can't, there is not a bad word I can say about Knies. He works his balls off nightly, and he doesn't make anywhere near the money anyone else makes, and he's still super young. That is as complete of a power forward you're going to see at that age. And he's only going to get better.
Yeah.
Listen, Matthews 1 goal the whole series, no excuse for that. Nylander, laziness, no excuse for that. Tavares, maybe it's not down to effort. Maybe it's just kind of foot speed stuff. That's kind of just the status quo with him, right? So yes, those guys are culprits. Riley was a big culprit in Game 7. Those guys are culprits, and they need to be held accountable. But at least I can sit here and say, there's a moment. There's a moment. You're doing things the right way. There's a moment. There isn't one thing I can say about Mitch Marner in this series. There isn't one thing I can say. He is not built for playoff hockey. Great. He did it at the Four Nations with 56 other All-Star players on his team that can carry the team, and he makes 2 passes at the end of the fucking tournament, and we're all gonna love him. You can't do that in the NHL. If you're making $11 million night in, night out, you have to be here, especially in the playoffs. See you later. You want $14 million? Rantanen scores a hat trick every other fucking game. He could get $14 million.
Okay, so there's a lot of different directions we can go on this.
All these people sit here defend Mark. Oh, I'd rather keep Mark. You're just saying that because he's Canadian and you need to feel like, oh, well, Matthews is American, so why don't we pick on him? I'm not saying Matthews isn't accountable. But at least I can say Matthews does things the right way. There's no fucking no-look passes in the neutral zone and then stand there and watch the guy go, well, you don't back check.
In terms of, to kind of expand on your point, when you think of Mitch's contribution this series, put it in another vacuum, the things you think about are the negatives. Even if you try and search for something that Mitch did really well.
Oh, but Mitch made a 1-foot pass to Matthews to score the goal in Game 6. Wow, that was a real difficult pass, guys. Real difficult. He slid it this way a little bit, and Matthews went in and scored.
There's a boatload of negatives to look at, and there's maybe a handful of positives you can pick out.
People online, they defend him. How do you defend that?
We spoke about it the other day. Even people praise the penalty killing. Just because he skates around a lot on the penalty kill doesn't mean he's an effective penalty killer.
He's garbage defensively. He is brutal on the wall. We can't break out with him on the ice. If the puck goes on his wing, we can't break the puck out.
The breakout's bad. The breakout's really bad. The power play's bad. The overall kind of, I don't know. In Game 7, it was they couldn't complete a pass. I don't know if it was nerves or what it was. They looked so uncomfortable playing with each other out there.
Because they're in your face every second of the game. You know why? Number one reason I'm not blaming the decor. They couldn't get it. They couldn't get out of their own end.
Yep.
The decor played the whole game in their own end. The goalie played their own. That's another thing. Anyone blaming this on goaltending is a complete moron. Shut the fuck up if you're blaming this on goaltending. Did Stolarz earn the number one job coming in the playoffs? Yes, he did.
Yeah.
And he played well in the first round. Was Wall outstanding every single night that he played in the second round? No. There was a couple goals he could have had here and there. But he never lost us a game.
It should have been good enough. If the team in front of him shows up, it should have been good enough.
He never lost us a game. Game 4, he was lights out. We did perform. Game 5, we couldn't go to our own end. Game 6, you actually defended well. Wow, amazing. A shutout. Game 7, same thing as Game 5. Blame it on you. You cannot blame this on goaltending. If Stolarz is in the net, it's the exact same outcome. Sorry.
You may not like it.
Games 4, 5, 6, and 7. That's the last 4 games of the series. The Leafs scored 4 goals.
Not a great way to win a Stanley Cup.
You can't win with 1 goal per game.
No.
You can't.
Because that's...
And one of them is a Robertson garbage time goal. That means nothing. You got shut out in game 4. You scored 1 at garbage time in game 4 and game 5. You scored 2 in game 6, but you actually defended, so it's good enough. If you defend, if you do things right. And then game 7, you got 1. I don't know.
Okay, so going through, do you want to go through UFAs, RFAs? Who you'd have back? Because it's
I
basically...
think I've been pretty clear at who I want back and who I don't want back.
It's basically everyone seems to be in alignment that anyone reasonable seems to be in alignment. You're letting Mitch walk.
Mitch walks.
Shanahan.
Any fucking team that's worth their fucking salt. You think Florida's gonna pay Marner $14 million in the open market? They're not gonna pay him $9 in the open market. Any team worth their salt that can actively say next year we're trying to win the Stanley Cup is not gonna pay Mitch Marner.
You got Cowan in the pipeline.
I would rather give Cowan a shot.
You've got another playmaker to test, and not for $14 million.
Back up the fucking truck for Bennett and Marchand.
Shanahan gone. I think both in agreement.
He has
to. Had a decade.
He has to. Berube's not going to stand for this.
No.
And I don't think Tree will either, because if he believed in it, Marner would have been signed last summer.
Yeah. They already kind of alluded to it on the broadcast where it's Berube's going to have a big voice in who stays and who goes.
He's seen it. He knows now.
The standout ones that scream absolutely Berube guy and will be back. It would astound me if Lorentz isn't back. I think that he's cheap. He's a good fourth liner.
Fourth line. Great fourth liner. Great fourth liner.
Responsible.
He can't be up your lineup.
No.
All respect to Steve Lorentz. I love his game. That fourth line, we have praised it, and it was our third line in the playoffs, really. We've praised it. That's a great fourth line. Lawton can go up the lineup. I can see Lawton going up the lineup. But Yarncroke and Lorentz, the effort was there. They're in night out. They're skating their heart on the forecheck. But those are not third line or above players at this point. Yarncroke isn't, maybe used to be, he isn't anymore. Lorentz is just not that type of player. Lawton can maybe go up into the third line. I can see that. But
Robertson, I think,
Robertson's gone. Robertson's gone. He was scratched there the whole playoff. He came back in, and even though he scored, he still got scratched after that. He's gone. Yeah. He's gone. He's not a Berube player. Nyes is staying. Tavares is maybe in like a Stamkos situation that he was in last year, whereas maybe it depends what the Leafs want to pay him. And will he take that discount to stay?
I believe he was asked directly.
He said yes.
Yeah.
He said yes.
Which
he wants
to me means he's made his money.
Yeah.
He's fine. He's not going to be super stretching with the money. He may actually take a really reasonable discount based on...
Stamkos got 8. I don't think Stamkos should have taken 8.
No.
And I think Tavares is more valuable than Stamkos is at this point.
Yeah, I'd agree. And fits the system. We'll see.
You can't completely offload everyone. No. That's the problem, right?
The free agency isn't that great.
Yeah. So if you go out, but only like okay, you can say like, oh, Bennett's a free agent. That's great, but only one team can sign Bennett. What about the other 31 teams, right?
And go out and tell Bennett, hey, like in the world where they go and win another Stanley Cup, hey, Bennett will pay you $9 million. I'm going for a hat trick in Stanley Cups here.
Yeah, I'll take 7 tax-free in Florida. Play my game, play the game the right way, live in the fucking sunny weather.
Not be overly criticized.
Not be overly criticized.
Not deal with the media friendly.
We do the same shit, but they deserve it. So you get paid that much money, you got to fucking show up. there's no. The only reason would be that if Bennett was like a diehard Leafs fan growing
Yeah.
up, just like
If there's
Tavares.
some sort of connection there.
But the difference is Tavares wasn't playing on a winning team previously.
Yeah.
Bennett is.
And kind of came into the organization when you had these young guns that he could kind of help vet and help grow.
Yeah.
And you could see a world where if the world went the way that Leafs fans would have liked, he can win a cup.
I'll give Brad Marchand $6 million right now
Yeah.
for 1 year. Fuck yeah, I'll give him $6 million.
Where would you play him? Third? Second?
Second or third? A second line left wing was a huge problem this year.
Yeah.
It was a massive problem.
Zero solution.
It got moved. How many times did we change it?
You've got $11 million off the book.
You got probably 16 to 18 million because Tavares' deals are going down. It's not going up.
You have the
But
cap
then
increase.
nine
You got to
is
pay
going up.
9.
So yeah. So maybe just offset that. So say So just take the 11 million off for Marner.
Yeah.
We discussed it. I think Riley is a big issue. It's a big issue.
He's got a lot of years left on his contract.
He's got so much time. Like it might be time to. You got to try and get him.
Does he have a no move?
Is it a Trouba situation? Well,
No.
I'm gonna put you on waivers if you don't waive your no move.
Yeah. I understand he's been here a long time, but it's just like he's not the player he was.
Do I think they'll go that far? Probably not.
No. I think you try and treat him with respect because he
But
seems. It's you want to be as respectful as possible, but at the end of the day, it's like
it's not working.
It's not working.
It's not working.
Everyone criticizes you all the time, and you're not getting any better. That can't be enjoyable.
Yeah.
Go somewhere.
You showed up offensively in the Ottawa series. You didn't in the Florida series.
Yeah.
And that's where your upside is. And if you don't do it,
what are we paying you?
Yeah. The other 5 defensemen on the roster are doing their job defensively, and you're not.
And we can go and get a different offensive-minded defenseman.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know. We sit here and we say like the free agency doesn't look, and that's kind of the way it's going to be from now on out. Like you don't see that as much anymore. Guys will wait it out all the way to free agency. Usually the big guns are signed by the time July 1st rolls around, right?
Yep.
Like you want to wait. You can sit here and say, well, look at the free agents next year, and there's some big names like a McDavid, a Kaprizov. There's some big names out there. Those guys aren't leaving. Those guys are getting paid on July 1st when you can sign that extension. Maybe not that day, but in the summer before the season starts. Those guys are signing.
Right.
Those big names are signing. That's just how it's going to be. So you're not gonna, but that's not what we need. We don't need to go out and get big names. I'm not sitting here saying let's go sign another $11 million player if we get rid of Marner. It's to spread it across the lineup so you have depth, so you don't have to rely on those 4 fucking players.
You want to go out and sign coaches, players. You want to go out and sign guys who don't really care about the spotlight, aren't going to be on highlight reels, but when asked to do a certain job, they do it every single night really well, and they don't need a lot of media attention to be happy.
Like McMahon was super quiet this playoffs. I love McMahon as a player, but I haven't. He was
really
hurt last
bad.
year. It was not good. He got a little better near the end, but
his regular season was good, like best regular season ever for him.
Yeah,
but non-existent
again,
all playoffs.
Again, if he's a 4th line player, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that's
maybe
fine.
Maybe 3rd line, depending on could be injuries, whatever.
Yeah,
right?
that'd be
but
fine.
But it just hasn't.
He's shown he's not a second line guy.
Whether he was hurt or not, I don't know. But like a Holmberg, Berube seems to like Holmberg. He's given him a lot of chances this year, but I just don't know. And I don't think he played poorly in the playoffs. I just don't know how you can justify playing him on your second line.
Not a second line player.
He's not a second line player.
We need a second line player.
We need. You're probably going to need another one too, because if Marner walks, you need a first line and a second line player.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of fucking paying $11 million for one, how about we pay $5.5 for each for 2?
And they just need to be good enough. They
Cowan,
don't.
hopefully Cowan takes a step.
You need Cowan in the lineup because that just fills your problem.
He's too good for the OHL.
It fills your problem so nicely.
He's way too good for the OHL now.
And then I agree. I think Bennett's a long shot. I think that's wishful thinking.
It's wishful thinking. I just, if you were to say there's one player out there, who would you go get in this free agency as a Leafs fan? I would say Bennett.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I think he stays in Florida.
Yeah.
But that would be the one player I'd be actively targeting.
I want them to go get Raquel. I want them to go get Raquel.
I made
He's
a list.
not super expensive.
I made a list the other day of players maybe we'd look at, even if it's a trade, and
Yeah.
Raquel's on my list.
He's just a good enough winger.
He's proven he
That's
can
all you
play.
need to
He
be.
can he can
You
he
can put
can
the
play with
puck
good
in.
players.
Yeah. I know he's not playing with Crosby anymore, but it's like he's still gonna be fine.
Yeah. I think maybe the free agency stuff we need to maybe save it for another day.
Yeah.
Maybe
Okay.
closer to the free agency period, right? It's still fresh here.
Hmm.
Um, it's just kind of like a what now.
Right now, you take it in. You let the players debrief. You let them get a break. You let management make management
Like, how about
decisions.
Matthews' comments after the game last night?
Yeah. What do you think on this? The whole if you didn't hear it, there's a lot of guys who came along as passengers tonight.
And he's right. He's 100% right.
Do you think he should be saying it publicly, or is that a private conversation with either coaching because he has an influence in the organization. He's the captain. He's who they're trying to build the team around.
Usually, I would say you want to keep it in house. Usually.
And in my eyes, the guys who can make those call outs are the coaches. I don't like players calling out other players because then you just get Pedersen, JT Miller drama shit. Now the fact that he's the captain maybe gives him some more leniency because that's his team. He needs to be held accountable. But
But that I don't see it as a thing because that Vancouver thing is just one player and one player.
yeah,
Matthews is like the whole team wasn't good enough. Like the whole team were passengers.
yeah,
Um, I wouldn't say I love calling. Like I don't like calling people out in public. That's usually an in-house thing. But at the same time, like we can't sit here and bitch and talk about how boring hockey players are when they talk to the media, and then when they say something fun, everyone gets pissed off at it. So I don't know.
I don't think he should have said it personally. I think if anyone should say it, it's Ruby. I think that because then he was one of the first, I believe, interviewed, and then the media after went to every single other player and asked Mitch, "Hey, this is what Matthews said. Do you agree?" And so it kind of just, I don't know. I don't think it's good for you want guys who are ride or die for each other. Like I know there's some that are going to be leaving, and some of those people that are passengers are likely going to be off the team anyway, but not all of them maybe. And all it does is cause everyone else in that room to just question: Is he referring to me?
Here's what I'll say. I don't 100% agree with calling people out on your team in public. I don't. I wouldn't say I agree with it. But if those players are sitting there in the dressing room and saying my captain has called me out in public, and they're sitting there moaning about it, and oh, he called me out. Is that about me? Instead of fucking pulling your fucking bootstraps up
Hmm.
and getting better and getting ready for next season, then I don't want you here.
The other reason I don't really like it is okay, but what did you do?
I think he's including himself.
The phrasing to me didn't because if he's calling himself a passenger,
I think he's calling the whole team passengers. I think he's calling the whole team out.
I think if he is doing that, then it could have been just phrased better. But like you just lost the series, you're furious. I don't hold you to that high of an account. It's just like it's a little bit of a separating yourself from the disaster, which was the finish to the series.
It's context too. It's context.
Yeah,
Everyone will pick out that one comment, right? A couple of questions later, it was like, well, what do you feel about Marner? He's like, well, he's my best friend. Like we've
consider him a
grown up.
brother.
Yeah, like so, like you can't just because he said that doesn't mean he doesn't want to be with these players or doesn't trust these guys. It's just he's right. They were passengers. They were all passengers tonight or
For
last night.
I would just go with how he praised personal accountability. I just don't know how that's like necessary. You're just kind of sticking the knife in, twisting it for no reason. Everyone knows they didn't show up. And go scream at your team in private. I don't care about
I don't think
that.
he screams at his team in
No,
private. I
but
don't think
maybe
he
they
does.
needed it. The viral clip from the Amazon series with McDavid screaming at the team. I prefer that than going out and kind of doing this passive
Yeah, but
aggressive.
McDavid didn't win,
Yeah, that's fine.
so
He
it
made
doesn't
it
mean anything.
made it way further than we did.
But he didn't win.
Made it way further,
They played Florida in a game 7, didn't they?
and they brought it to 7.
They played Florida in a game 7, as did
If
we.
you're gonna say that McDavid didn't
Just
bring
be,
his team
but just
way
because
further,
we played them earlier, we brought them to 7 games.
that's fine. They still had to win how many series?
I hate to listen. Elliot Friedman says this all the time. I don't consider it. I look more at who you lose to in the playoffs than how far you go.
And
Because Edmonton has cakewalk series early
go back to that
compared to
series
what the
though.
Leafs play.
They were down what 3-1
They were down 3-0.
and brought it to game
Doesn't
7.
matter. They didn't win.
No, I view it as far more showing grit than we were up 2-0 and threw away. How many games did we not show up in? Like they battled. That series was a better series than what we had
Listen.
in terms of effort minimum.
Well, yes and no. The first 3 games of the series, do you think their effort was good enough? Their effort wasn't good enough in the first 2
No, but
games of that
sustained
series.
over the entire series. You have 2 games where it was like non-existent team on the ice.
I argue it's the same amount. Just because the Leafs did it later in the series, but they still didn't show up.
I don't know. I think that you get more kudos if you're in the Cup Finals.
That's fine. That's fine. But I'm looking at it as we lost to Florida in 7 games too, just because we had to play them earlier. Who's Edmonton? Edmonton played LA in the first round every year. Real tough.
They just almost swept Vegas.
You know what I mean, though. Year after year, look at the Pacific Division compared to the Atlantic
I understand
Division.
the point you're making, but it's like when you
beat Vegas for the first time this year.
It's better leadership to do it in private and to call guys out individually in private than to go to the media and be passive aggressive. I do that as like cowardly.
No, I don't think what McDavid was great leadership. I don't see that. I don't see that at all. I think that's just made up just because he's a golden boy. Because he screams in the dressing room. He's a great leader now. I don't see the NHL's new age captain isn't like I don't view McDavid and Matthews as great leaders.
Right.
Do you? That's not.
I think McDavid more than Matthews. Yeah.
I don't think either of them are.
Okay.
Like, you really think McDavid's a great leader?
I think that when his team is down, he's far more capable of setting the tone and doing something himself and getting energy back in the team. Yeah, I think that's leadership. When no one wants to show up, for you to take control and say, I'm going to drag this team forward, I view that as leadership.
Okay, that's all well and good.
Do you think that's leadership or no?
No, I don't think that's leadership.
You don't think stepping up when no one else on your team is doing anything is leadership?
I don't think just because he goes and scores a bajillion points that's leadership. Leadership is sacrificing things to do things the right way, to get your team on your side.
Right.
For your depth of your team, because you know you're going to need them come playoff time. That's leadership. That's a Sidney Crosby. That's a Jonathan Tate. I don't view.
Yeah, no one's putting. I wouldn't put McDavid on the leadership level of like Connor of Crosby or anything like that. I'm just saying on his team.
In this new age NHL, it's always just the best player's the captain now. That's what it is.
Lowry's the best player in Winnipeg?
For the most part. I'm not saying every team. Don't. But I'm saying, for the most part, if you're like some big all-star in your parade.
Jamie Benn?
Was Jamie Benn not a stud before?
He was. He's not anymore.
Yeah, but were you going to strip the captaincy off of him? He's been there, done that.
What if he's not the best player?
I'm not saying, okay, but Dallas doesn't have, until Rantanen came, Dallas didn't have some stud top 5 player in the NHL on their roster.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
I'm saying stud player. Do you view Ovechkin as some like massive great leader?
No.
Not really, but he's the captain.
Well, maybe actually. Depending.
Early in his career, would you have viewed Ovechkin as some great leader?
No. Probably not.
I think
not until like halfway. Yeah, halfway through.
Into it.
Yeah.
Guys like Crosby and Taves were off of that. Right? So that's my point. I don't view the majority of like the stud guys as like fantastic leaders. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, that your team captain wasn't necessarily your best player.
Right.
It was the guy who was most fit to lead.
Mm-hmm.
But because there's probably a lot more turnover now from those depth guys, Like a guy like Adam Lowry fits the captaincy role better than most captains will.
Mhm.
But on a lot of rosters, maybe there's a turnover, maybe he's the odd man out. But they don't want to give him the fee because he could be gone in 2 years.
Okay.
Whereas a guy like Matthews, you're not going to trade, and he's not going to be gone until he's well into his 30s. McDavid's not going to be gone until he's well into his 30s, right? I don't view these guys as like phenomenal leaders, right? Do you? Like, I don't see that.
Phenomenal, no, but on his team, he's absolutely
That's
a
just
leader on that
not.
team.
Yeah, because he's the best player, but he's not
That's
actually
the
like.
only attribute. You don't view him as any like there's no other attributes of his game or personality that is leadership oriented.
I'm saying not no others, but I'm saying to an actual leader, he isn't like a natural like leader. He's just the best player on the ice, so he gets the captaincy.
Right. And so is he completely passive with that? Do you think he just takes that for granted? Do you think he tries to set
No, I think he
culture and be a
tries.
leader?
Matthews has been the captain for 1 year, and we're acting
No, no,
like
we're
he's
not.
gonna fucking
No, but
be some dog shit captain. It's been 1 fucking year, and Matthews isn't the type of guy. You think Alexander Barkov goes in the dressing room and fucking screams and yells at guys?
I have no idea.
Zero chance.
But has he ever called someone out and called his teammates
He
passengers
doesn't have to because they show up on a nightly basis.
recently? Within the last what 5 years? How long has he been there?
He's probably been the captain for 5 years.
Where did he come from?
He's drafted there.
And he's how old? So he's been there for longer than 5 years then.
Yeah, but he has been a captain for longer than 5 years.
Just saying. I think that it's like I
I
think
don't.
it's poor taste to make passive aggressive
You
comments.
could. I understand you saying that you don't agree with the comment, but to say McDavid's some phenomenal leader because he yelled and screamed in the dressing room, no, I don't. That's not what
I'm not
leadership is
saying
to
that he
me.
yelled and screamed. It's the fact that he tried to do it in private.
But he
He
did.
didn't go
But
whine and bitch and moan in the
he
media.
did. He did, but he didn't because he knows the Amazon cameras are there. He knows it's
I
gonna
don't
get
think he's
out.
thinking about that at all. I just don't.
That's fine.
I think you discount McDavid because you have such a personal vendetta against his existence
No, I don't
that
have. I don't
any
have.
positive attribute is
I
like deemed unworthy of
no, I
him.
don't have a vendetta against his existence. I just don't think he's like some natural born leader like everyone seems to think he is. I don't view leadership as yelling and screaming at guys. Guys that are nice and calm, I prefer that.
It really depends.
Let the coach yell.
It really depends. If it's just the coach, then all it is a dog barking. You need someone who's actually your colleague. Your coach isn't your colleague. That's your manager.
Okay, who's a bigger leader, McDavid or McKinnon?
Um, I don't know. I don't know
McKinnon
what McKinnon's like.
a million times over. A million
Okay,
times over.
I don't know what McKinnon's like, so I'm just
McKinnon
uninformed.
holds his team accountable.
Okay, in what way?
You
That
haven't
like differs from a lot of
you
others.
haven't seen him?
Elaborate. Like, are you talking just how he plays?
No, he holds his team accountable. Like he has said things before.
Okay.
He on the ice, you can see he's holding his team accountable.
Yeah. And how is he doing that? Speaking to them intensely?
Yeah,
Yeah. Same thing that
on the
McDavid
ice,
did in the dressing
on
room.
the ice,
He did the same thing in the dressing room.
on the ice.
It's in your team environment. It's not when you have a bunch of mics up in front of your mouth. Like that's the
But Matthews
difference.
didn't yell and scream into a mic.
No,
He said something that was truthful,
he was passive aggressive
but he
about it.
was right.
That's fine. It's leadership is just doing things the right way, and I think just doing it passive aggressively because then you can have when you do it in private, it allows for dialogue and conversation, and people can talk. Whereas if you're doing it in the media, it's just this like, why couldn't you say this to our faces?
So McKinnon never did that in the media.
I have no idea.
He did
What did he say?
before they won cups. The year before they won the cup, they lost in the second round,
Hmm.
and he was pissed off, and he called his team out.
What did he say?
I don't remember word for
But
word what
like
he said.
but the words matter. That's my point. I'm not saying that like you can't ever say anything negative about your team and everything should be done behind closed doors. I'm okay with being like we weren't good enough tonight. That's fine, and being like like whatever. For me, it's the calling your teammates passengers because he didn't say I was one of those passengers. He did not say that. When you call everyone else, you're separating yourself from being held accountable in your own comment. That's my big issue, is by being like we had a lot of passengers tonight. And if he adds the caveat of "and I was one of them," zero issue with what he said, zero. But he didn't say that. That's why words matter. The individual word choice
Okay,
matters.
but it's in the heat of the moment. You just lost another game 7 for the fucking 48th year in a
Which is
row.
why I'm not calling him out like a massive amount. It just wasn't ideal.
He's putting everyone in the boat. He's not just putting a few
But
players in
you
the
but
boat.
you
It's
don't
the whole team.
but you don't know that.
Yes, you do.
He didn't say it. So where are you getting it from? He didn't say it. You're doing a connotation for it, which is like a positive, like you're trying to think through what he meant. And you're actually reading into like probably the intent behind it. And I'm not even saying you're wrong, but that's not what was said.
But you have to take into account you just lost another game 7.
Yeah.
The wording isn't always going to be fantastic. He's not a fucking scholar. He's a fucking hockey player.
And he did, but like this is standard hockey culture. You include yourself in the accountability. He didn't say that. He didn't. He didn't say it. You can't argue it.
It's implied.
And that's the thing.
It's
If you're going to
implied.
say it's implied, that's fine. That's not what the headlines are going to read. And anyone who he doesn't talk to directly, they're just going to see that. And so I view it as cowardly to be like, I'm not going to talk to this individual directly and be like, guys, what happened tonight? And have those conversations. I'm going to do it passive aggressively in public and then walk away.
See, this is my problem. This is my problem. McDavid's the golden boy. McDavid has never said anything passive aggressively in the media. That's all he fucking does.
Bring up some examples, and if he does,
Just go look it up.
Then no problem.
Just go look it up.
We'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure he does. Then that's not good either.
Like you can't because of one bad moment.
McDavid's not the standard of captaincy and leadership. That wasn't even the point I was making. I'm saying this type of situation, you can use that example of maybe he knew that, maybe he didn't. I don't think he was thinking about it.
He knew that.
I just don't think McDavid is so star-studded, hungry for the camera.
He knew that.
And this is where your pessimism for this individual, which is why I'm saying I think you have a personal vendetta against him, from a guy who isn't even looking at the camera. It's like squeak a camera through a door crack, and you're saying this guy knows, but a guy who is literally in front of cameras with mics in his face. That is deemed as like just equally as bad in that McDavid.
No, I don't. I'm saying I don't have an issue with calling teammates out. You call the teammates out in a public situation.
I mean, at this point, I think it's a dead conversation. Like
you called the teammates out in a public situation,
but you didn't call yourself out, and you didn't even name players.
Did McDavid call himself out when he was yelling and screaming at guys?
What was his actual words?
He didn't call himself
out. He
said
said not good enough.
He said not good enough. He didn't just like Matthews. He didn't say I'm not good enough. He just said it's not good enough.
Yeah,
that's all he said. He didn't say.
But he didn't say you guys. He didn't say you guys aren't good enough. Like the connotation of not good enough is as a team connotation. I think it is a far different line to walk with what he said versus what Matthews said in front of camera.
Okay, whatever.
This is what I mean. I think it's a dead conversation. I think you have such a bias against McDavid that it's like clouding. It's clouding your objectivity.
No, but you used McDavid as the example.
Sure.
Like I said, I don't think there are a lot of captains left in today's NHL that are like pure leaders. I would put Barkov as one of them. Barkov doesn't go yell and scream.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's natural for him.
You might not like the passive aggressive whatever. First of all, it's year one. It's year one of his captaincy. So yeah, does Matthews need to be better as a hockey player in the playoffs? 100% he does. But I'm gonna give him some leeway in the captaincy role because it's year one. If it keeps going like it has, obviously I'm gonna say he's not good enough.
He's also been an assistant for forever.
But it's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
But it's like you've been in a leadership position where if John's ever out and hurt, you're the one talking to the rest. You're the one who, if you're gonna believe that, like if season A's mean anything at all, like if you want to basically be like their only skill level, like I don't know, signatures to put on jerseys, then it's like fine. Then it means like the complete meaningship of what they're supposed to do because that's the individual who's allowed to talk to the rest, who's going up and you know being labeled as captain.
I'm not saying that guys like a
Be-
McDavid don't have some qualities that would make them a captain.
Mhm.
I'm just saying that today's NHL, for the most part, the guys that are captains are just typically he's the best player, so he's the captain.
Because we also, the only reason, like, I don't know if McDavid's ever screamed in front of cameras or whatever. The only reason we have that snippet is because of the series. Barkov may scream at guys. We don't know. I think it's
We
a
don't
long
know for
shot.
sure, but just based
It
on his
seems
demeanor,
unlikely. It seems
I think
unlikely,
it's pretty.
but we don't know.
But
There may be
there's
times where he's really asking and speaking intensely to ask guys to step up.
I don't think he doesn't not call players out,
Mhm.
but I don't think he yells and screams. I think if you just look at top to bottom, you look at Paul Maurice, that culture is just calm.
I think so too.
That culture is
And I think
it's one game
Paul's part of that too.
wasn't good enough.
Paul's very much in the
Yeah,
he's willing to be the bad guy to his
yeah,
team because they respect him.
yeah. Again, I don't like. I'm not gonna. I don't think McDavid's a dog shit captain. That's not what I'm
Mhm.
saying.
No, I'm not
But I
saying he's
think
the best captain on the planet.
just like you're saying, well, Matthews didn't say those words, but you have to give him a little bit of a benefit of the doubt here,
Correct. I don't
just like you
disagree with
do with
you.
McDavid, right? Like Berube is a pretty well respected coach, I'd say.
Mhm.
Craig Berube has won a Stanley Cup
Yep.
with a team with basically zero All Stars on it,
Mhm.
and he came in year one and made Matthews his captain.
Mhm.
Whether that was just him, probably not, but I'm sure he had a say in it.
Yeah.
So obviously there's something there that he sees in him. Again, just like McDavid, Matthews doesn't come across as like the ultimate leader.
No, and I'm not even saying this disqualifies Matthews as a leader. I just didn't like this decision. I
Yeah,
didn't like the way he
yeah.
phrased it.
I just based on what I'm seeing, a lot of Matthews isn't captain material. Okay,
No, I
but
don't
like
think that's
I can't really say that for most captains in the NHL today.
yeah, and that's not a reasonable conclusion.
Yeah,
I'm more so saying in this individual instance, I think it could have been handled differently.
yeah,
I give credit to
yeah.
the
That's
you
your
just lost
opinion.
a 7-game series for the nth time, and it sucks,
Yeah.
and you're pissed off, and your team didn't show up, and I understand that. In
What,
the heat of the moment, though,
Well, I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying. Like you shouldn't just call out individual guys. But what I will say is, even when Matthews isn't scoring, he's still winning draws.
agreed,
He's still playing
agreed,
well defensively. Like
yep,
there's things that he's still doing that other guys aren't doing.
agreed,
Right.
yep.
So again, do I necessarily think it's okay to just call out certain players? No. But I think it was the team as a whole.
I think you're right. It's just not what he said.
That's fine. That's fine.
We just had like a 30-minute discussion on the phrasing of this word.
That's fine.
But that's the conclusion. That was my entire point. I'm not even saying that's not what he meant. I'm just saying that's not what he said.
Okay, that's fine. You think I'm like going on into McDavid? I'm just giving you use McDavid as the
Yeah,
example. So that's what I spoke about.
yeah,
I don't see these players as like raw. How like back in the day you look at the captains. Like I just the first one that popped in my head. I don't know why, but the year before the lockout, the Tampa Bay Lightning won the Stanley Cup, and they had guys like LeCavalier, St. Louis, Brad Richards on the roster. Fucking 40-year-old Dave Andreychuk was their captain.
yeah,
Now Dave Andreychuk back in the day was a great player, but at 40 years old in 2004, he wasn't
yeah,
a first line. He was a fourth line player,
yeah.
and he was the captain. That's kind of what you. That's what the captains used to be. It was the leader of the team, the heart, soul of the team. Whether you're near the top of the lineup or the bottom of the lineup, right?
Hmm.
That's just not what you see now. It's
Yeah.
like in a couple of years, you're going to see Bedard's going to be the captain in Chicago. Celebrini's going to be the captain in San Jose. That's just how it is.
If I had it my way, Riley'd be chipped, and you give that 8 to 10 out. Like that's how I'd do it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a guy who
yeah.
who doesn't just talk the talk, who walks the walk.
Marner, Nylander, Riley. I don't view them as A players.
No, it's
Yeah,
just an ego
yeah,
stroke.
yeah, 100%. Again, the C. Um,
But if on that point, it's like I don't think as like a sport you've dissociated that the expectation
yeah,
is the person with the
yeah,
C and the people with the A are the people who you look
Yeah,
to do more when
100%,
things aren't
100%.
going right.
You could be a leader without having a letter.
Yeah.
But like you just kind of look at the situation like the Rangers this year with Trouba.
Mhm.
Trouba was the captain, and they were trying to ship him out before
Yeah.
the season even started, right?
Yeah.
So like when it's not like a top end player with a captaincy, that's kind of the risk you run a little bit, and that's kind of probably not saying it's a number one reason, but probably what probably played into the Rangers having such a garbage season. Honestly,
Mhm.
a little bit. Their captain is kind of they're trying to ship him out. That's the message you're sending to your dressing room, right?
Yeah.
It probably plays into it a little bit.
In my eyes, the captain's the guy who sets the tone.
Yeah, 100%. Do I think Matthews is that type of player? Yes and no.
Yeah, agreed.
He isn't like a raw guy, and every guy's different. I
I,
don't necessarily see McDavid as a raw guy for the most part anyway.
yeah,
But just because we have that one clip,
yeah.
everyone
It's
seems to think that.
it's not even like the noise. You don't need to be noisy
Yeah,
or like the loudest in the room. It's
yeah,
the passion and the desire to
yeah,
win and the
yeah.
setting of the tone. It's the when things aren't going right, this person doesn't care.
And we don't know. Maybe Matthews did say something to them in the
Yeah,
dressing room.
you're
We
right.
don't know.
You're
We
right.
don't know. We'll never know. Um, I think we can all agree at this point, like you've changed management, you've changed coaching staff multiple times now.
Yep.
It's a personnel issue on the ice.
Yeah.
Now we've gone pretty long here on the Leafs talk. Another season over. We disagree on the Matthews comment, but I think we pretty much agree on everything else.
Yeah.
I think Marner's got to. We think Marner's got to go.
Yeah.
Tavares can stay on if the contract's worth
He
it.
wants to be here.
You keep Nye.
Love a guy who wants to be here and is willing to take a discount.
I think a big factor in Game 7 too was Nye wasn't his normal self.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you have him in there and he's the number one guy on the forecheck, maybe that first line plays differently, right?
And you're less scrambling on the fly
Yeah.
trying to figure out what the
Yeah.
hell we can do with our top two lines.
Yeah, it's hard to say what the solution is because you can't completely rebuild your team off of free agency, right?
No. Which is
You
why
can fix holes.
it's why I think you need to take the leap of faith with Cowan, and it may not look as pretty
Yeah.
at first, but you need
So
to
maybe
take that chance.
some people will say maybe there's growing pains. Florida is the perfect example of this. Florida had a 100-point player. Huberdeau was a 100-point player, but they weren't getting it done come playoff time. They saw an opportunity. Kachuk wanted to leave Calgary. They pounced. Look what's happened since then.
Mm-hmm.
That first year, Florida made the playoffs in the last. They got the last playoff spot in the last week of the season, and they went on a run and haven't looked back since.
Go see who wants out
Two
of
cup finals in a row with a win, and a last season, and possibly another win this season. There's a very good chance.
Seattle, who wants out of Utah, who wants out of
So
some of these other zones
yeah,
where they're not going to win in the next 5 years.
maybe it's kind of looking at teams like that are maybe some teams have brought some new coaches in. Maybe those coaches, oh, I don't really want this player, right?
And you can have some stud in Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner is still a regular season performer, but
It has to
and
be,
that can be a guy who can get you into the playoffs if you're not making the
yeah,
playoffs right now.
it has to be him or Nylander.
Yeah.
It just can't be both.
Yeah.
And Marner's contract is up,
It's
so that's the way it's gonna be.
sorry, bud. This is
Yeah.
the time. I think you have to go to those types of teams and just be like, start floating those ideas.
Now Rick Tocchet, one player I've really wanted on Toronto for a long time. We'll talk about it later, but Tocchett's new team. There's a player on Tocchett's new team that I've really wanted to come to Toronto because he is the perfect playoff guy, and he's not a big guy either, but he bangs, and we've talked about him quite a bit on here, and like Konechny. I'm not saying it's realistic; it's probably not going to happen, but that type of player is the
I
type
love
of
a
player
Tippett.
yeah,
I love
yeah,
a Tippett.
yeah, that type
Bangs.
of player. But if Tocchett's coming in there,
Yeah.
Konechny's definitely the type of player Tocchett's going to want, right? And so it's unlikely, but I'm just using an example.
Yeah.
That's the type of player. Maybe a player that makes instead of 11 to 14 million, he makes 7 to 9 million, 6 to 9 million.
Yeah.
And maybe he won't produce as much in the regular season, but come playoff time.
You don't need to win every division. You're likely playing the same 4 teams anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not that much different. How much did it help us winning the division? Florida cook Tampa in 5.
Yeah.
Like,
So if Tampa would have won the division, we played Florida in the first round, would we have lost? Maybe, maybe not, but
we don't know.
we don't know. But
It's not that. I think it was a little bit, again, a little bit of wishful thinking that
Yeah.
somehow Tampa and Florida would grind each other out and we would have this.
this is what I mean. The playoff format's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
It's why it's so fucking stupid. Listen, respect to Edmonton. They did well. They made the final last year. They got over the hump. And that's not to say that McDavid, because McDavid and Draisaitl do perform in the playoffs better than all of our guys. 100% they do. But when you're going in every year, you play LA, you play Calgary, you play Vancouver.
Very
Okay,
different.
Vegas is one team, but what did they play Vegas twice? They won one, lost one.
Yeah.
It's a very different than playing Tampa, defending champs. Florida, defending champs. Boston's been in the playoffs 15 years in a row.
And even if you are in the West, Dallas, Colorado,
Exactly.
one eliminating the other first round.
First round, exactly. So it's just like you look at the Central and the Atlantic are the peak divisions in each conference, and then the Metro and the Pacific. It's a lot easier to get out of those divisions, right?
Yeah.
And I get you want the rivalries and blah blah blah, but like you have to reward. You have to have some kind of reward for having a good regular season.
When does marketing hurt the product?
Yeah, exactly. So it's not going to change. We could bitch about all we want. We know it's not going to change. Bettman's not going to change it.
No.
Because you're going to get series like that, like Toronto, Florida in the first or second round, Florida, Tampa in the first or second round, Toronto, Ottawa in the first or second round. But
and then all those fans, one of those loses, and they can hop on a bandwagon.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like maybe Toronto would have played Florida in the second round regardless because Florida didn't have the President's Trophy winning regular season, whatever, however it would have played out. I don't know exactly, but it's just the fact that there's no other opportunity to do it. It's just not. And it'll even itself out at some point. At some point, the Metro is going to be better than the Atlantic, and the Pacific will be better than the Central. And that's
it's the thing with draft
the stages that will go in.
Yeah.
But it's just, I find it a little ridiculous that like a Colorado Dallas, they're playing each other in the first round. Like, come on now. That's ridiculous. That shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
That's just not. It's just not right. It's just not right. I'm not even saying that Edmonton wouldn't have made the final if it was 1-8.
Yeah.
They might have. We don't know. They beat Dallas in the conference final, so they obviously beat good teams. But LA and Vancouver, they have to beat LA and Vancouver to get to the conference final. Well, Dallas has to beat Colorado and Winnipeg, right? There's a little bit of a difference there.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a gap there. Anyway, we can keep going on and on forever. We got to touch on all the other series. We'll go west. We'll go Winnipeg, Dallas. Last we spoke, it was Dallas had a 2-1 lead, yeah. So it was after game 3. And then game 4, still in Dallas. Winnipeg just can't seem to win on the road in the playoffs. Michael Granlund scores a hat trick and propels Dallas to the game 4 win. They take a big dominating series lead, 3-1 series lead back into Winnipeg. Winnipeg responds at home. Terrific game 5 performance.
Yeah.
4-0 win. Hellebuck shutout. But again, it's the road issues. Winnipeg, and they said it before the broadcast in game 6, Winnipeg hasn't won a road playoff game in 3 years. If you want to be a true contender, you have to be able to win on the road.
Yeah.
You have to. Obviously, the big storyline in game 6, unfortunately, Mark Scheifele's father passed away the night before game 6.
Devastating.
That's just brutal.
I can't think of just what he's going through
and
mentally.
Mark obviously made the decision to play game 6. He scores the goal to give Winnipeg the lead. Dallas ends up tying the game not too long after that. Scheifele takes a penalty at the end of the third. Dallas, Thomas Harley wins it in overtime with Scheifele in the box.
Do you
It's
think?
just a tough way to end it.
Do you take that same penalty? Because like that's a penalty you're taking deliberately. Like you're about to take that
Yeah,
guy down.
yeah.
Do you take that penalty, or do you just hope Hellebuck has it? Because it's always tough.
If it's the middle of the second period, I probably don't take that penalty, but it's the last minute, the last 2 minutes of the third period, and you're facing elimination and you're desperate.
I think you gotta take that chance.
Because
Because you're gonna regret it if you don't. He scores.
and they score exactly. I just this team is just so good in the regular season. They're they're the Leafs of the West.
Good in the regular season. Run up the score against some garbage
And just
teams.
can't do it in the
Look
playoffs.
really good. Get some
Not
highlights.
saying they're like the same. Like the Leafs are a lot more like top loaded, and Winnipeg's probably like more of a based on the goaltending and the defensive game. Obviously, the Leafs have changed the game this year, but just historically. But they just can't seem to get it done come playoff time.
Yeah.
0 road wins in 3 years.
That's insane.
That's tough for a team
that's a boogie, man.
Yeah, that's just bad.
I'm just looking. Who on the Jacks actually scored? Because I don't know if it's worth calling out Kyle Connor. Is he just another Mitch Marner regular season guy?
I don't see Connor as a playoff guy. I really don't. I know it's unfortunate. He's a very good player. He scores a lot of goals come regular season time, and even if he does produce points in the playoffs, he'll get out muscled. He won't win a lot of battles.
Scratched in Four Nations.
He's got scratched in the Four Nations final, and that's basically what it is. If he's not scoring, what else is he bringing?
Yeah,
and it really isn't.
I think he set up for Fetty. Like he had some assists.
Yeah,
but
it's not that he didn't do anything.
It's just
he wasn't like
for a guy who does so much in the regular season, you're looking for more in the playoffs.
And again, like I don't think like Hellebuck played a lot better in this series to me than he did in the first series.
Yeah.
But just out of a guy who's going to be a 3-time Vezina winner, possibly win the MVP, you just expect maybe get us a save when we need a save, right?
Deflate so heavily in the playoffs is just weird.
Again, it's not entirely on him. Like there was some, I think it was Game 4. Like they were terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like they got and I think they lost 3-2, right? Like so he kept them in it. They just like Wall in Game 4 in the Florida series, right? The goalie can only do so much. The goalie can't score goals. You have to be able to score at least like 2-3 goals to win a game.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's unfortunate that two of the 3 remaining Canadian teams are eliminated in the second round. I would have loved to have seen Winnipeg go far.
Yeah,
But we're sitting here as Winnipeg in a similar situation. Do they need to change things? I don't know.
It just feels like there's an infamous book called Good to Great, and it's just like you got to have the right seats, the right guys in the right seats on the bus.
Yeah.
And it just feels like both teams are good, they're not great.
Yeah.
And something has to change.
That little
part of that too is
bump.
willing to sell, willing to make tough decisions that are different from what feel natural.
There's a lot of luck involved in it. Like Morrissey got hurt in Game 7 of the first round, and then he gets hurt in Game 6 of the second round, and it didn't look good.
No.
And like Scheifele, like imagine playing in that type of pressure cooker.
And frankly, like even getting out of the St. Louis series was a bit of a miracle.
Yeah.
Like to come back and score with what was it, 4.4 seconds left?
They scored 2 goals in the last 2 minutes and scored with like less than 1 second left to tie the game.
So even that was a bit of a miracle.
Exactly. So, but it's just, and it's not that I don't think like I would put Winnipeg in the same boat as Toronto because they didn't get embarrassed.
No.
They didn't come out flat and not put in an effort.
Pumped.
Right? The Leafs in 3 of the last 4 games of the series were just horrible.
In a world where the Leafs score first in Game 7, is it a better game?
Yeah, it is.
I think so too.
It is because they just unraveled.
As soon as they get one against them, and if they're not leading,
especially against Florida, and especially in that long change second period.
Anyway,
we're going backwards.
We're going backwards. Sorry.
We've already touched the Leafs. We know.
Oh.
We'll talk about them at nauseum, especially once we get closer to July 1st.
Yeah.
And draft and whatever, right? But Yeah, I would because Winnipeg. It's not that the effort wasn't there. They were in the game. They never got pumped. They were never fully outclassed out of the building. Right? It just didn't go their way, and that's unfortunate for them. Like Shifley, your emotions are high in a playoff game already,
Oh my God.
and then to have to go through that.
And it's always, and this is kind of what I anticipated was this is what my dad would have wanted me to
Yeah.
play. So now you're playing with that pressure and just,
And
I
he
just
scores a
feel,
goal.
I feel for the
He
guy
scores the goal,
so
but then the
much.
penalty.
What can you do?
Yeah. Dallas moves on. Dallas is a deep team. That's like three really good lines on that team. You look at the full finish line,
Yeah.
Granlund, Rantanen, and Hint. You have the full vet Canadian line, Ben, Duchesne, and Segan. And then you have like kind of the up and comers like a Wyatt Johnston and Robertson together. And then Harley has really stepped up when Heiskanen was out. Heiskanen has since returned and didn't look great when he first came in, but he was the best player on the ice in Game 6.
Really?
He was unbelievable in Game 6.
Holy shit.
He was unbelievable in Game 6. That was like the one-man breakout we're used to seeing. Only three defensemen, Hughes and McCarr. Those are the only three guys on earth. And I argue that Heiskanen is better defensively than all those other two guys.
Yeah.
So Dallas is dangerous. Now, if we move over to the other Western Conference series, I believe it was 3-1 the last time
Yeah.
we spoke. Edmonton closes it out in Vegas.
Dusted.
And it's crazy because Vegas finally figured out a way to slow down Edmonton's offense in Game 5, but they didn't score.
And it was Skinner.
Skinner, was that back-to-back shutout?
Yeah.
Game 4 and 5 after all the shit he's taken? I know Jack's not a Skinner fan,
Shut
but
me up.
he shut you up for those two games anyway.
We'll see if it lasts.
So a couple of questions I have, because it was the series was kind of out of hand last time we spoke anyway. Yeah. We already talked about what the hell happened to Vegas. So Edmonton, if Pickard's healthy, you're still rolling with Skinner, or are you going back to Pickard? Pickard won 6 games in a row, but now Skinner has back-to-back shutouts that close out the series.
It's such a weird series of events. Yeah. If you're rocking Skinner, you're rocking Skinner.
I think you roll Skinner at this point.
Like he's in. Yeah. Pickard got hurt. It wasn't like Pickard had a really bad game, so he's gonna understand.
Yeah,
I think
it sucks for Pickard.
Yeah,
because he would have held the job. He would have had the job.
Yeah.
Right.
It just sucks. But you rock Skinner. You got hurt. This guy's the guy who went in. Yeah. He's hot. We're gonna continue to ride him. And I think you're going to understand that if you're Pickard. It sucks, but you're going to understand.
I think especially because Skinner is notoriously the number one guy in the net. If it was roles reversed and Pickard was usually the number one, I think it's more of a debate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? But because Skinner's kind of been the guy. Edmonton's weird. Edmonton has a very strange dynamic in the playoffs because we've spoken about it. Usually, like this year especially, their depth was terrible in the regular season. And the depth is the reason they're winning. McDavid and Draisaitl usually score a lot more points in the playoffs than what they have this year. It's not to say that they haven't scored any points at all, but it's usually heavily reliant on them.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been as much this year on the team that's been the weakest depth they've had in a long time.
Yeah. I don't know what woke them up, but
what changed. But even last year, you look at it, Skinner had a tough series against Vancouver. Pickard came in, saved the day, and then Skinner came back in, and they rode all the way to Game 7 like a final. So it's kind of the same dynamic here.
It's so weird.
It's a very strange. Edmonton is just very unpredictable. They're without their best defenseman, and they don't seem to have any problems.
Yeah.
For a team who isn't usually good defensively.
Yeah.
So we have a rematch of last year's West Final, but before we get to that, so a couple of things. So we touched on that. So Edmonton has done a complete 180.
Yeah.
Based on what happened in the regular season.
I didn't think they were getting past LA.
A lot of people didn't think just because of the depth and that LA had the depth this year and LA got better this year, that LA would finally conquer the demon. But just like Toronto, Boston, or Toronto, Florida, LA just can't seem to get by Edmonton.
Don't know what the issue is.
Yeah,
Don't know what the
yeah.
issue
We're
is.
not gonna talk about LA. Let's talk an off-season conversation. But Edmonton, not only did they beat Vegas, they ran them over.
Yeah. To get it done in
Yeah,
5 just seems insane.
yeah, just crazy. I said Vegas would win 5
I think I had Vegas too.
because I didn't think that I wanted to say Vegas in 6, but you said Vegas in 6 too. So I was like, I don't want to have the same one. And it's funny because we predicted all the same teams, but all of our games were different except for the one series that we both got right, which was Dallas in 6. The only series we both had to pick the same team and same game. And of course, it's the one we get right, so we just offset each other. Vegas.
Mhm.
Will Vegas be Vegas and be ruthless in the off season? Because they are notorious for that,
I
even at
think
the deadline. But
at this point, I think it's like an expect a business as usual. Yeah,
I
they're
think
going to
they
be
will be.
ruthless.
I
That's
think
what
they
they
will
do.
be.
They
Yeah,
like doing it.
they're probably their number one priority will be inking Eichel
Yeah.
because he's got a year left, so he'll be eligible to sign. So I'm sure that's their number one priority at this point.
Yep.
Who knows what they do? Like they let Marchessault walk last year. Is the D getting too old? Maybe, I don't know. Are you sick and tired of Stone being hurt all the time? Is Hurdle the
Pietrangelo.
answer at second line center? Bill Carlson was probably their best player in the playoffs,
Yeah.
one of the OGs. Who knows what they do? Aiden Hill didn't have a great playoff,
No, he didn't.
and you have Sean Burke, who's considered the best goalie coach in the NHL. Do you go somewhere else? Are you sticking with Hill?
A lot of it depends on who's available.
Yeah, I think Hill will still be the goalie, like a guy like Petro. Petro had a lot of injury issues this year.
Their
I think
backup,
if you,
Sammy.
yeah, I think maybe you go address that. Maybe more of a 1-2 where it's even, kind of like the Leafs, right?
Yeah.
That could be something they address. I think, yeah, I think Petro just wasn't healthy all year, as evidenced by the fact he didn't go to the Four Nations.
Yeah.
Theodore had that long layoff of that injury at the Four Nations. Hannafin, we know, can be better.
Hmm.
And they had some guys that kind of broke out, like a Dorofiev kind of came out of nowhere this year, so maybe you got to give him a little bit of time. He's still a young player.
I think so. Like he had a really great season.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do, but Vegas is just notoriously ruthless, so
And he had
we'll
an
see.
injury at the end of the season.
Yeah, yeah, so we'll see. But I think we can expect maybe some fireworks
Something. They
because
don't hold back.
you remember at the deadline, everyone thought before Marshall went to Florida, everyone thought he was going to Vegas
Yeah.
because Vegas had sent out some cryptic tweets. And everyone, oh shit, here comes Vegas. And everyone thought, oh, Marshall's going
Once
to Vegas.
again.
But then they kind of nothing really materialized. I think Marshall wanted to go to Florida. So, but yeah, Edmonton's the lone Canadian survivor. They go into the Final Four. Um, so we'll see if they can get it done. They got it done against Dallas last year, and again, Edmonton kind of made quick work at LA. Not quick, but 6 games, and it was pretty easy breezy after the first 2 games.
Hmm.
Quick work of Vegas, whereas Dallas had a tough 7-game series against Colorado, a tough 6-game series against Winnipeg. Edmonton might be a little fresher coming in.
They're for sure gonna be
Yeah.
fresher.
What would Dallas will have the advantage is that Ottinger's looked really good.
He's looked really good. Heiskanen's back.
Heiskanen's back. So we'll see.
Rantanen's been unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. And Hintz has kind of in the playoffs the past couple of years hasn't been the normal Hintz, but this year he's kind of found that chemistry with the Finnish guys. Granlund's been a really good low key pickup.
Yep.
So we'll see.
I think it's just gonna come down to it's goaltending for Edmonton. If you're gonna if you have any shot, you need your goaltending to step up.
It's kind of the prototypical Dallas probably has a better overall team than Edmonton, but Edmonton has those couple stud guys. And if Edmonton's depth plays the way it has, Edmonton is in a good spot.
Yeah.
And as long as Skinner doesn't lose them games, right? Because just the way Ottinger's play, he's been terrific. He outdueled Hellebuck.
You're gonna have to be very good to beat Ottinger.
So, and Dallas is just a strong team. The last second round series really isn't much to touch on. Carolina dominated from start to finish. It was 3-1 the last time we spoke. They closed it out in game 5. Kind of a disappointing end for Washington. to a really good season, but Carolina just wanted it more.
They're just so they're just not fun to play against.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
put it in the YouTube friendly version,
Yeah.
they're just not very fun to
They're just
play
not fun.
against.
And out of the 4 remaining teams, I think they're the least talked about, and I think they're being slept on.
They are being slept on. They're kind of the real deal.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a battle against
Now,
Florida.
the history here is that Carolina's been here before, and
Mm-hmm.
they usually don't do well in the conference finals.
Correct.
Historically, what it's been. Now, Freddie's looked really good,
Mm-hmm.
so if they can have goaltending,
Oh well, he's gonna get punched in the head. So well, it's not like he's gonna be playing anyway. Chekhov, get ready. Like, let's be real. Expect it.
Here's the thing. With Freddie, Florida doesn't need to punch him in the head. Just a little nick and he'll be hurt.
Yeah.
So
Little shove into the post, his
yeah,
leg will break.
yeah.
This one's gonna be really fun to watch.
It'll be interesting. Both series should be good on paper. They should be good.
Yeah.
But just Carolina, everyone, oh, they're so boring. If I'm Carolina, I don't give a shit if you think I'm boring. We win hockey games.
I want
That's all that
my
matters.
name etched on that little
Yeah,
cup.
exactly.
I do not. No one's gonna remember how we won it.
When Carolina won in 2006, the first year after the lockout, I think they were the most exciting team in the league. Nobody thought they were going to win the cup. Cam Ward comes in out of nowhere as a rookie in net, and they go win the cup. Eric Stahl was a second year in the league. Rod the Bod at the end of his career, hoisting that cup.
Yeah.
You want to talk about leaders?
Yeah. The best.
Yeah.
The best.
Rod the Bod.
Love me
Yeah.
some Britton Moore.
That's just like, again, that's another culture. Carolina's a culture.
Yeah.
Like Rantanen didn't work out there. There's just certain guys aren't going to work there.
Yeah.
Because Carolina, Rod the Bod is in the gym every morning before everyone else. If your coach is in the gym before everyone else, that's accountability.
He's out repping you.
That's accountability. That's a team. That's culture.
Yep.
And that's what wins.
Yep.
Florida's got it. Carolina's got it. Even you could probably say the same for Edmonton and Dallas. Maybe not as well known for it, but Edmonton's had success in the playoffs the past couple of years. Dallas is their third conference final in a row. This is what makes the difference.
Yep.
The culture.
Culture matters.
Yeah. And if you look at it, you look at the second round, all 4 division winners won their first round series. They all lost in the second round. Regular season means absolutely nothing, folks. All you got to do is get into the top 8 in your conference. That's all that matters.
That's the job.
That's all that matters. Okay, maybe we go into the series here. So we go Carolina, Florida first. Well, what do you think?
This straight up, this goes 7.
I think it's going to be similar to what we said with the Edmonton Dallas stuff. Carolina kind of ran over New Jersey, ran over Washington. They're well rested. Whereas Florida they kind of ran Tampa over, but a tough series against Toronto in the second round.
Yep.
So Carolina's got a little bit of rest here, so maybe they come out flying. But they have home ice as well.
You've got a somewhat like, I don't know. You've got a tame Kachuk. Like Kachuk's been
quiet in the second. He was very quiet.
He's been quiet.
He was there in the first round, but
Barkov, Reinhart, like I don't know if Barkov scored. I don't know if he scored this series. Did he?
Barkov is just so like Barkov will never get the respect he deserves. Like I put Barkov on the same level as like a Kopitar, where people know how good he is, but he will never get the plaudits that he should get.
I'm just kind of thinking like, okay, a lot of the goals that they've been getting, like I know Reinhardt had the one. A lot of it's been coming from like defensive core. It's been coming from depth players, Kulikov.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah, yeah.
Imagine that. Maybe if you don't pay 4 guys $1 bajillion a year, your depth will be better, and you'll actually win the playoffs.
And take that point. I think that you have a much more defensively capable in 4-line consistent team in Carolina. I think it's going to be a challenge for Florida.
Oh, 100% it will be. 100%.
It's going to come down to goaltending. Like, is Bob feeling? Has he entered the zone officially?
Yeah.
If he has, I'm always going to give it to Florida.
If Florida plays like they did everything to the outside, Bob will stop
Seth
everything.
Jones been unbelievable.
Seth Jones was great. Especially in that game 7.
And then go into Going to Carolina. I mean,
Carolina's got home ice.
this is going to be a very tough series. I think it goes 7. I'm going to take a shot. I'm going to go Carolina.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Carolina in 7.
If you look at my playoff bracket, I do have Carolina in the final. This is tough for me because I love the Canes. So you're saying Canes in 7. I'll write that down. I'm going to go. Florida is just like, until they prove me wrong, I can't go against them.
Yeah.
Like, I would have picked Florida in the last round if they played anyone but Toronto, and it was just like I said, hard overhead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like, I'll go Florida in 6.
Okay.
It's kind of like watching football for all these years, and it's like you could only bet against Tom Brady so many times before you're just like, I'm not gonna bet against him. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Right? Obviously not to that extent, but
Yeah.
like in the past now 3 years,
They're showing they still have it.
Yeah.
They're showing they're capable.
those two pickups, like Marchand and Jones, are the best players in the ice in Game 7 against Toronto.
Yep.
On top of all the greatness they already have, that third line. When we talked about the Leafs with depth, you think the Leafs could ever have Lundell and Marchand on their third line?
Lundell, third line. Who's the other winger?
Is it Luosterainen?
Yeah,
Like, it's a great third line.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. We talked about Samoskevich last week.
Mm-hmm.
He's a healthy scratch most nights. This guy would play on our fucking second line.
Leafs have a lot of work to do.
Not we'll get to that. But yeah, I think the Kings will put up a way better fight than what they have in past years in the conference.
I think
don't
so.
think it'll be a sweep or 5 games like
They're coming in rested after, and the other aspect of this, we spoke about it last night. Whoever had won before the game, they play Tuesday.
They play Tuesday, yeah.
That's a quick turnaround.
Since what, Wednesday? Tuesday, Wednesday?
You have a much more well-rested team.
Yeah. And they're on home ice. So, well, yeah, I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I can't go against Florida. They have that know-how.
Yeah.
But I won't be surprised if Carolina wins, not in the slightest.
Mm-hmm.
You have a guy like Slavin on the back end. I just think
so good.
Florida might just have that little bit, because even though Carolina has dominated the play in their 2 series, even the last they didn't score a lot.
No,
they didn't score a lot. And I think Florida, there's going to be low scoring games, but there's going to be some games where you need to score to win. And maybe that's just kind of the difference. Florida has like a Kachuk, a Reinhardt.
2 games against the Leafs, they scored 6.
Yeah. So you kind of need to. Now again, I don't think Carolina will implode like the Leafs did.
No.
Right? But there's going to be some games.
Broad will not have that.
No. But there's going to be some games where you kind of got to. Not every game is going to be a defensive fest, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a lot of them, especially in the playoffs, and these are 2 very good defensive teams. But some games,
I can see it being very much a battle of the neutral zone.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a huge factor.
Yeah. One thing, Carolina's probably a little quicker, and they kind of want to try and get them into a back and forth game, open ice game, maybe a little bit, because Carolina's used to playing man on man, so they can handle that, right? Yep. Whereas Florida, both teams are super aggressive. Both teams are aggressive on the forecheck. Florida's the number 1 bump and chase team in the league. It's talked about a lot. So, but they're a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina a little leaner, probably quicker. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We go west. What do we think on the Edmonton-Dallas? We touched on it a little bit.
I think this is the year that Dallas goes.
You think Dallas gonna go?
I think the Rantanen acquisition improves them so much.
Yeah.
I think that the offense is just going to be way too much for Edmonton to handle. I understand the depth of scoring's been there, but it's a very different matchup than Vegas was, and I think that I don't even know if it's going to be very close.
Really?
Yeah.
You think it's going to be?
Like, I'm debating whether 5 or 6 right now.
Oh, wow.
I think it's not even going to be fun.
Oh, wow.
I understand Edmonton's a little bit more rested. I don't think that the Dallas series against Winnipeg was that punishing for them. You have Heiskanen back. Ottinger's lights out. I don't know. I don't see a way that
Really?
Edmonton gets through it.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised you say that.
I'm gonna go with home ice advantage.
Dallas then.
Yeah, I'll go 5.
5.
I'll go 5.
Wow.
I think they're gonna absolutely be too much to handle.
Okay. Um, my mind tells me to take Dallas, but there's just something about Edmonton. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it defies logic what
They're
they've done in the playoffs the past few years.
I think there's a lot of head shaking of they did what to Vegas?
How are they doing? Like I'm not surprised that they beat Vegas,
But in
but they
5?
stomped Vegas.
Yeah. Um
Yeah, that's tough. I'm a little gonna be a little less. I I'm the one being lenient on the Oilers right now. What the fuck's going on here? They just seem to have something in the playoffs. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Stars in 7
Okay.
because DeBoer doesn't lose in Game 7.
Doesn't lose.
Pete DeBoer has never lost in Game 7. We touched on that last night. Now my prediction here, I have Florida Dallas final. Pete DeBoer and Paul Maurice have both never lost a Game 7. So if it goes Game 7, somebody's got to lose.
Someone gets
You
tarnished.
can't be throwing that stat around. But we'll if it comes to that, we'll talk about it. But yeah, I just think Edmonton just somehow they just find ways to
Yeah.
win in the playoffs. I don't get it. It doesn't make any logical sense. There's always these high scoring games that usually you wouldn't suggest to do in the playoffs, but it works for them somehow.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that if it goes 7, Dallas just has that a little bit more. And again, we talked about Edmonton's depth has been really good, but Dallas's depth isn't like anything they've seen yet.
Mhm.
Like LA and Vegas have good depth, but they're like just your normal depth. They're hard to play against, but they're not like Dallas' third line, like Wyatt Johnson and Jason Robertson are first line players.
Yeah. I just view the Vegas series as like you kind of beat up on smooth men.
Yeah, Vegas just you could tell in the Minnesota series Vegas wasn't right.
Yeah. The fact that
Yeah,
and that's
whereas Dallas has looked good.
that's a great highlight
Yeah.
is no one expected Minnesota to be able
Yeah.
to hold their own, and they did. Um, I think that I'd give more discount to Vegas than I would credit to Edmonton the way
Okay.
that series went down.
Well, anyway, so you're saying Canes Stars final. I'm going Cats Stars final. I think that's the first series this whole playoff that we didn't agree on the team
We differ.
in the Florida
When you
Carolina.
gotta have some hot takes in here outside of just the little Leafs. I think that the Canes.
Literally every other series we picked the same team.
Yeah, I mean, I think because if you try and be objective as possible, at least when you can, it's like you can see how you can predict how the series you think is likely to play out,
Yeah,
and
but it's the playoffs.
yeah, and I
You
know
have no idea.
you have no idea.
Yeah,
In a lot of cases, you can take an educated guess, but it
Yeah.
is still that it's a guess. Um, and I just think that Rod is I'll never bet against Rod.
yeah, yeah. Maybe we recap our second round predictions.
Okay.
So you said Leafs in 7. I said Leafs in 6. We were both wrong there. You said Canes in 7 over Washington. I said Canes in 6. So we both get a point. We got the team right. Carolina 1 and 5.
Unbelievable.
Vegas and Edmonton. You said Vegas in 6. I said Vegas in 5. We both got that wrong. And then Winnipeg and Dallas. We both said Dallas in 6. So we both get 3 points. So it just stays.
We're exactly where we started.
Exactly where we started. You are now on 15 points. I'm on 11. That Florida Carolina
So
series
this week matters a lot.
a little bit.
Could be a
Yeah.
differentiator.
Even the Dallas series, if we both picked Dallas to win, but you said 5, I said 7.
I think it's gonna be clean.
So we'll see what happens. So that's it for the playoff stuff.
Okay.
Couple notes outside of that. A couple hirings. LA has hired Ken Holland as their new GM. We touched on Rob Blake leaving. Interesting decision. We'll see what happens there. Obviously, you had tons of success in Detroit. A little bit of success in Edmonton. I wouldn't say it was a complete failure, but it was a lot of just the team was kind of already built, and he was just kind of making moves off of that. And they obviously parted ways last summer. Outside of that, we touched on it already, but Philly has hired Rick Tocchet as their new head coach. What do you think of that? It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I think stylistically it fits,
Yep.
but I'm surprised that Tocchet would want to go to a team that has that much work to do with it.
Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it too, where
Yeah.
it's like Philly's not good. Philly has
Yeah.
some players and they have some sort of a system that they seem to be trying to play, or at
Yeah.
least were under Torts. I think that the team fits Talkit. Like, I do think that that makes sense, but I just view them as so far out that
Yeah.
I view it as like, Talkit, are you sure?
It's more of a Tocchet thing than a Philly
Yeah.
thing. Like Philly is really good for Philly. It's more of a Tocchet like.
Are you
Do I
committing to?
think he could turn them around? Yes, but I don't think it's gonna happen overnight.
It kind of feels like all right, you're committing to be there for 5 years, which also
Yeah.
means you're losing some of your top guys in the next few years. I don't know where Konechny's at, but he's not exactly super young.
He's probably like 27, I'd say,
Okay, so by
around
the
there.
time you do some drafting,
Yeah.
I don't know. It just
Do
feels
it.
like they have a lot of work to do.
I feel like Philly could be like a team that like in a one-off year they could like sneak into the playoffs, right? Just because of the way they
And
play,
then you never know.
and then you never know. But I don't think like year over year they're gonna be good.
No. So yeah, it's just kind of like a Talkit made a decision. He's willing to commit to this team.
You just thought that maybe like, oh, even if he doesn't like any of the situation of the teams available that have a head coach job, maybe he waits it out a year like he did previously, right?
Yeah.
Maybe work on TNT for a year, right?
Yeah. See what comes out.
And he got the Vancouver job. One thing I will say about Philly is there has been a little bit of drama surrounding Philly, but I feel like in the dressing room it's not like an in dressing room problem.
No, it's not guys having issues with
Or
each other,
like it
really.
was in Vancouver. So it probably
Yeah.
eliminates it and not as Philly's still a pretty decently sized hockey market, but nowhere near what Vancouver was.
Yeah.
They're a little bit away from the noise.
Yeah.
They're still focusing on the Eagles, the Sixers, and the Philly more than they're focusing on the Flyers,
Everyone's
right?
on heroin in
Yeah.
Philadelphia. They don't have the attention for a high-speed
Yeah.
game. They need baseball.
Yeah. I think it's a really good hire for Philly.
Yeah.
I think he could turn them around.
Hmm.
It just depends. Maybe it's a retool. Maybe it's not a full rebuild, right? You have some pieces there that are good playoff guys.
Yeah.
Um, so we'll see. It'd be interesting what they do. Um, if it doesn't work this year, if it's like the same season, do you maybe ship some guys out and start anew? I don't know.
Minimum retool.
Yeah, I don't know.
Minimum.
I
You
don't know.
kind of need to see what he can put together.
Yeah,
This is just kind of like, all right, here's your
I feel
sandbox.
like the
See what you can do.
division is kind of weak enough that they could maybe make a run, right? The Metro isn't that strong
Yeah.
based on what we've seen.
New York's got a lot of work to do.
Like the Rangers have a ton of work. The Islanders are probably going in the opposite direction. With they have the first pick, maybe it's we get bad. It's gonna get worse before it gets better for them. The Rangers, who knows what's going on there? The only team that can really say in the Metro that I'm really confident that like surefire is gonna make the playoffs next year is Carolina.
Yeah.
Because like Washington obviously had a great year, but
Yep.
that's kind of a one-off year at this point in time. It's a one-off
It
year.
kind of shows it after you got rinsed with
Yeah,
what you did in the second round.
yeah. I'm not saying like I do think Washington's probably still a playoff team next year.
Yeah, they have enough young guys. Like,
I just don't think that like we've seen enough of them yet to be like I'm 100% sure they can consistently be in. The same as New Jersey. New Jersey just one injury and they're gone,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
New Jersey's kind of like again talent wise, New Jersey should be a playoff team.
I think you've also got a lot more temperamental.
Like a Pittsburgh, they're kind of done.
Yeah, yeah.
So we don't really know. So it's a division that you could probably pounce on.
You need the proper emotional state for Washington to be good.
Yeah.
Like if they're starting to get frustrated, there's a lot of guys that could not handle that well.
Yeah.
Hashtag PLD.
Dubois, Chikrin.
Chicken's been doing Bible camp. Did you read that?
He eats full watermelon.
He eats full watermelons. He was doing Bible study with Charlie Lindgren.
He can't drive his EV because he can't sit on the battery or whatever.
I just want to go to dinner with him. It means we'd be eating
raw meat.
Yeah, we're gonna be eating raw meat.
We're gonna get salmonella.
Just to pick his brain. I think it'd be fun.
Okay, elsewhere, Rick Tocchet's old team, Vancouver has promoted Adam Foote to head coach. I think it's been talked about a lot already. It's basically a move to get Quinn Hughes to stay because Quinn Hughes loves Adam Foote.
Yeah, you enlightened me to this that he had a strong relationship
Yeah.
with Foot.
That's what the say Flip deserved a job because he's done a good job.
Yeah.
But Vancouver's problems haven't been defensively.
It's kind of like, all right, well, if this is what keeps Quinn, you kind of have to,
Yeah.
because I'd be super pissed about him.
Yeah.
Super pissed.
Yeah. Again, I don't think he doesn't deserve the job because Foot has done a terrific job as like the defensive coach. If you look at Vancouver's numbers defensively, that wasn't the issue.
No.
The issue was the other side and some dressing room drama, right? If you get Demko healthy and back to his game,
Please get Demko healthy.
Vancouver could turn around. You never know.
Yeah.
And I think it's a decent hire. A lot of people out there were calling Manny Malhotra's kind of been a coach for a long time now. He's their AHL coach.
Okay.
He was kind of in the running for the job a little bit. A lot of people called for him. He could be one you see get a job elsewhere in the future.
I don't know. I'm not really that involved in Vancouver coaching hirings.
Yeah, I'm just mean that's just a name that's been out there. Hocher's been an assistant before elsewhere in the NHL, I believe.
Okay.
And he's been kind of talked about before. I think it was kind of expected that he might be the next guy to take over, but Foot kind of came in and did a really good job, so they went with him. That's all I really got for the NHL stuff. Obviously, the London Knights won the OHL the other night. They kind of took care of business pretty easily. So they're going to the Mem Cup. Check out the other series. I believe McKenna got a winner the other night, and the celebration was funny because they kind of just like all left the ice immediately.
They think it
one
was
of
going to
those. They
get
just like
called back?
right off the ice and got off the ice.
Were they worried?
No. It was just like that was just like a funny thing. Let me see here. I believe it was 3-2 for Medicine Hat. Let me find it. Medicine Hat won on Friday. Medicine Hat. Sorry. So Medicine Hat will go to the Mem Cup. So you know all the teams because the two teams in the queue are already going. I believe Rimouski stayed alive in the last game. It was a 3-1 series. I believe they won to make it extend it 3-2.
Okay.
But because Rimouski is the host, both those teams will be there anyway. It's just a matter of who wins. So it is, 3-2. Moncton was up 3-0.
Wow.
And Rimouski won the next two. And they're actually playing right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, afternoon game. Interesting, on the holiday Monday. So if Rimouski wins tonight, they'll play Game 7 tomorrow night.
Oh, shit, back to back.
Back to back. So they head back to Moncton if they win. But Moncton can close it out tonight. Either way, both teams are in the Mem Cup. So there's your Mem Cup. Moncton, Rimouski, London, and Medicine Hat.
Okay.
And McKenna's going.
McKenna.
Cowan's going.
Cowan?
Yeah. So Mem Cup coming up. I don't know when that starts. See when that starts. Schedule confirmed. Starts May 23rd, which would be this weekend. Is that Friday? It's Friday. So Medicine Hat and Rimouski open May 23rd, and then Moncton will play London on the Saturday, and so on and so forth. Goes into June. June 1st will be the final. We'll keep an eye on that. See what happens. See some prospects on there. That's all I got.
Okay. Trivia?
Are we quizzing today? We haven't done it in a while.
Been quiz.
Because we've been kind of running a little long and short on time, so we'll quiz.
Wait, do you have anything to say so I can use the washroom? If not, I can ride it out.
Okay, ride it out.
Ride it out.
Ride it out. We're almost done.
Which of these NHL players is known as the Finnish Flash?
What's the category, first of all?
Shootout.
Shootout. The Finnish Flash, Teemu Selanne.
Bingo, 100 points. What is Gary Bettman's NHL title? What is this question?
Commissioner.
Yeah, okay, we don't even need to check the question here. Who was the last goaltender to play every game in a single season for his team?
Wow. Can you give me a year?
Uh, 1963,
Yeah, I
64.
knew it would be a long time ago. Just because this guy has the streak there, he played like 500 games in a row or something. I'll go Glenn Hall.
No, but he was an option. But he was not the last player.
Okay, 63, 64. Jacques Plante,
No,
Terry Sawchuk,
was an option, but not
Ron
correct.
Bauer,
No,
Roger Crozier. No, he's probably too. That's too early for him, I think. Uh, what team did he play for?
doesn't say.
Doesn't say.
I don't know this guy.
I said Glenn Hall, Sawchuk, Bauer, Jacques Plante, Eddie Jockeman.
Jockeman?
Yeah, Eddie Jockeman. No. Who else am I missing? I don't know who Boston's goalie was then. Cheevers would have been later. 63, 64, you said, right?
63, 64. You may be on a path here. Let me check the years. Career. Okay. So you brought up something. Basically, if you can figure out who Boston's goalie was at that time, you've got it.
Fuck. They were bad too. Like this is right before Orr came, and they were shit. And Cheevers, it wasn't Cheevers. Cheevers wasn't there yet.
I'll give you another hint. I don't know if it'll help you.
Sure.
You were onto something when you said Eddie. He is Eddie,
Eddie
but he wasn't Eddie Jacques or whatever.
Jockeman. Jockeman.
Yeah, he isn't
Yeah, he
Eddie.
plays for the Rangers. Eddie. Hmm. I don't think I'm gonna know it. I already said two of the options, so you can't really give me
Okay.
the options. So
Eddie Johnston.
no, I wouldn't have got that.
No idea who it
I
is.
wouldn't have got that.
All right. 400 points. Who has scored the most career goals as a player on the Carolina Hurricanes / Hartford Whalers? So they're including the franchise.
Hartford Whalers and Carolina Hurricane.
Mm-hmm. 382 goals.
Two players I'm thinking of:
Okay.
Ron Francis and Eric Stahl. I don't believe it would be anyone else. Was Francis there long enough for it to be him?
To be 382.
Because he had a lot of points. I
Okay.
just don't know if he was in Carolina long enough. Or Stahl would have been there a long time.
They're including the Hartford Whalers.
Yeah.
That
Yes, I
makes
know.
a difference.
Yeah. I'll go Ron Francis.
You're correct.
There you go.
Ron Francis. The other options were Eric Stahl, Pat Verbeek, and Rod Brindamore.
Brindamore. There was never going to be Brindamore. He was never.
All right, last question, 500 points. Which goaltender was the first selection of the Tampa Bay Lightning at the 1992 expansion draft?
Expansion draft, 1992. I feel like you asked the question kind of like this, similar.
Yeah, I think so.
It wasn't. It wasn't this one.
No.
1992 expansion draft. Goalie.
I can tell you where the player came from.
Sure.
From the Pittsburgh Penguins.
You definitely asked me this before.
Did I?
I feel like I've heard this before.
It was in the new card pile.
Yeah. But the other questions I hadn't heard before.
Maybe it's a NHL official hockey trivia trademark challenge typo?
Anyway, from Pittsburgh to Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
I I'd have a hard time imagining it was Tom Barrasso because Pittsburgh was winning cups then. So why would they let the starting goalie go?
It was not.
And I'm not going to know the backup. So give me the options.
Okay. Zach Bierk, Bierk. Darren Puppa,
Pupa.
Pupa,
Darren Pupa.
Manon Roym,
That's the only woman to ever play in an NHL game.
okay, or Wendell Young.
I'll go Pupa.
It was not Pupa.
It was not Pupa. Who was it?
It was Wendell Young.
Wendell Young. We never got that.
You
three
got
there.
Ron Francis. Yeah, you got 3 of 5. That's
Yeah.
not bad. Still 60%.
Yeah, that was those two goalie
That
ones.
seems to be your average.
Yeah, those goalie ones were tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's always some that are like just completely ridiculous.
Anything to say before we sign off?
Another season gone.
Bye-bye, Shanny.
Another season gone. Shanahan's got to be gone. I'm assuming Marner's gone.
Yeah.
Another tough exit.
We'll proceed to go puck ourselves.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll continue to cover the rest of the playoffs. If we get any Leafs news, we'll touch on it.
All right.
Obviously, we'll be going into June here, into the draft and into the free agency. So there'll be a lot of stuff to touch on. But maybe the Leafs, we have a little bit of break from the Leafs for a little bit. Watch some teams that aren't frustrating to watch.
Need a little bit. Yeah, now the frustration's out. You don't have any stake in it.
Who do you want to win the cup?
Carolina.
You want You don't want Edmonton to win?
No.
Wow.
I want Carolina to win. I just love Rod.
I would say. I think I'd agree.
Yeah?
I'd agree. Florida's got their cup. I don't necessarily want Florida to win, but I do respect Maurice.
I don't want to see the last name Marchand again on that cup. That's why
that's fair.
I'm going against them.
Edmonton, you know my feelings there.
Yeah.
If one player didn't play for them, I'd want them to win.
Doesn't have a personal vendetta, everyone.
Well, I never said I didn't at all. I just said I don't let it cloud my judgment.
So you're going Carolina?
Again, it's not the person, it's the hype around the person.
Yeah, you got it.
Yes, I'll go Carolina. Right. Go Carolina.
Good luck, Good luck, Carolina.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind if Dallas won.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. Yeah. I love a lot of those players.
Or Windsor Spitfire, Wyatt Johnston. Not gonna hurt.
Absolute stud, Matt Duchene. Absolute stud. Love him.
Everyone that plays on Jack's fantasy hockey team.
I don't pick talent.
Bias.
I pick players I like. I pick players I like. I don't build a good team. Yeah.
Chikrin's just like the greatest person that's ever lived.
Yeah.
From the Jack.
He's running a Bible study for the Washington Capitals.
Sounds like one more thing. Okay. Sounds like Ovi's playing another year.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's gonna play one more. So he'll let his contract run out and then probably go back to Russia.
It can be a fun send-off season.
Yeah. We'll see.
Go puck yourself.